All right, we are back and ready to talk some League of Legends. You guys ready?
I'm gonna go get
I'm
some toilet
ready.
paper.
I'm excited.
We don't even have Richard here. He's usually our League of Legends guy. But big news over in League of Legends community. Nip had obviously some big drama here when it comes to two of their players, Mithy and Nuke Duck. They were suspended because of their behavior just on the solo queue or just with the summoners. What's the official rule? I forget what the rules are generally in League of Legends. There's a name for the rules, right? Anyways, they were reported.
Do they still have a tribunal? Is
Yeah, they
that
still have a
thing?
tribunal. They still have
Oh,
a tribunal system.
sick. Nice.
But
The
these
Jedi
get
Council of fucking League of Legends
exactly.
chiming in on who's racist, fucking who isn't.
Exactly right. I mean, we can talk about the tribunal in a second too, but basically these two guys, they've had issues in the past with just behavior, just in the game, and have been reported and kind of gone through the whole tribunal system. Been, I think, banned a few times too, but it's to the point now where the Riot team kind of came in, took a look at everything, and they've been suspended. So they were kind of suspended from play. Nip, I think maybe a day after or maybe a couple of days after, decided to actually release these two players too, which happened recently. So these are two good players. I mean, these are two guys on their starting team. Nuke Duck, I mean, a lot of people know who Nuke Duck is, and this is actually going to hurt their team quite a bit in their chances. I just want to get y'all's opinion about just, I guess, just your players' behavior. Being able to control your players. Did Riot do the right thing here? I'll start off with Paul. What do you think about all this?
Well, I mean, you know, on one hand, I have a little bit of sympathy for NIP as an organisation because they constantly seem to have these issues. It isn't just an isolated issue with two players this time. It is this time, but they've had constant issues with players. It's a shame for the organisation, especially the CS:GO guys, because they've been, I would say, pretty much role models throughout their very long and illustrious career within IP, which is almost getting on for 18 months or so now. Actually, nearly 2 years. And yet, on the other hand, I don't really have much sympathy for them because they're the guys that pick the players, and you've got to vet players properly. You've got to choose right in the first place. And there is there's like a catalogue of disasters. There's the whole the Coca-Cola thing, LCS thing earlier on in the season. There's the whole, are we buying this team or aren't we buying this team? There's the alleged, links between them and Lemon Dogs and whose players could they have. So this isn't just a one-off thing. This is just a continual selection of things that have happened to NIP. Now, I don't know if that makes them unlucky or something, but to my mind, there are, coincidences are few and far between. You have one or two, sure, but 4 or 5 things going wrong like this, I think there needs to be some good hard looking at themselves in this. As for the actual players, well, I'm sorry, but if you go off and you do what you do and you get caught, then you serve the time. It's as simple as that. And I think it's a shame because Nuke Duck in particular is a player I've always enjoyed watching. But if you screw up, then you have to pay the penalty, right? I mean, it's as simple as that. And they're idiots. I mean, they really are. I can't say that strongly enough. They've been given a massive privilege of playing in a top team and potentially in a massive league, which is paying players and earning them a great deal of money and coverage and what have you. And they've just blown it. It's like a teenage footballer who gets signed to Man United and then goes out and trashes the town and gets arrested.
Or
And
like
it's a very similar thing. But on the other hand, I would also say this, and I've said this a few times in the past. Players who are exposed to this kind of fame and fortune at early ages have virtually no experience on how to deal with it and are not given any training or support either. So that also has to change for my mind. Not just NIP, just across esports in general. They get very little media training, help, support, understanding of. These kids have been playing in their bedroom until a few weeks before and just playing a game, and then suddenly they're thrust into the limelight, put on television to hundreds of thousands of people, and expected to what? Just act professionally, and they have no life skills. They've had no experience of having a real job. They've never been inside an office. They've never done anything remotely similar to it, and we just expect them to be excellent at it? I mean, come on, give them a break.
I'd like to echo that statement. One of the really interesting things with working with professional gamers is there's the admiration comes at it comes with this weird realization. So these are people doing something at like the top 1% in the entire world at something, right? And with League of Legends, it's something that a lot of people are interested in. But ReDeYe is absolutely right. In a lot of cases, these guys are savants. The one thing they do well in their entire life is play League of Legends. That's the one skill they have, and a lot of things oftentimes deteriorate. And that's not true for all pro gamers, but it's true for a lot of them. NIP has had a very shitty last 6 or 8 months when it comes to League of Legends. They were involved with, like, maybe they were going to buy an LCS team, but then Riot changed a ruling, and then that got, shut out, and then they didn't qualify through relegation, right, even though they thought they'd make it. These two in particular are kind of crazy. I remember reading in the press release that they're in the top 1% of reported players, like in the entire game. So it wasn't like, hey, you guys are kind of offensive and you're semi-professional players. We'd really like to set an example for this. These guys are actually just really kind of going over the top with it. I had a friend just tell me that one player was reported in 30% of his games played.
Yeah.
That's just absolutely crazy. That's just ridiculous. So I think they probably deserve the ban, and I hope they get on their feet. They also the press release mentioned another player who had been banned, and even goes and now he appears on the right analyst desk. So there's certainly ways to come back from this, but yeah, I mean the rules are the rules. They got slapped with $500 fines too, which doesn't seem that severe.
Yeah, I mean, Steven, you've been obviously a notable person that's played on solo queue, and you've told me just the frustrations of being on solo queue, especially when you're a streamer that's everybody knows, complain about camp, just the whole camping issues and that sort of thing. And I'm sure these players suffer from probably that times 2 or 3. So, I mean, is there anything there? I mean, do you think just even just the way they're treated,
I would have to know the specific. What were the specific comments they made? What did they say?
I don't actually know I mean, I've just been looking. I'm just looking at the ruling more than anything else. I don't know. Is there actually a link that has all the?
I absolutely
contents?
have no idea what specifically they said, so what I say might have no relevance at all. But I do know that something that's really interesting is when you play solo queue and you're well known or whatever, you will run into people, and you don't have to take my word for it. You can ask any other popular streamer. You can ask Phantom Lord. You can ask even Dyrus. I know another guy named It Was Only Fate. He streams. There are people that you'll run into in games who will the entire game just try to bait you into saying something that they can report you for. That's all they do. They'll try to needle you and blah blah blah. And then if you finally say something, then they'll report you for it as soon as the game ends. It's pretty funny.
Exactly.
And I've seen some of those reports or whatever. And I remember on some of mine, I saw a guy talking shit the entire fucking game, calling me and just all sorts of shit. And then when you look at the report that they write, the report that they type in is something I think that this player who is a popular streamer should be a representative of the community of League of Legends and should be exemplary for how the average player should act. So I think it's really disappointing when they act this crazy shit. I don't know if that's actually what happened here or not. I have no idea. Like I said, I don't know in the comments or anything, but I mean, I don't know. The tribunal is a very interesting system to navigate.
Yeah, we should talk about the tribunal. What do you think of it right now?
Are you dying, man? Is this
Can
the
someone
end?
Oh man, my voice is going a little bit.
ESGN poisoned him?
I think it's good.
Can someone just? I don't play LOL. Can I get a primer on the tribunal? I like the name. It's interesting.
Oh, what is the tribunal?
Yeah.
Basically, at the end of a game, you can, quote unquote, you can report somebody, and then that report ends up on the tribunal. What it is any player can just go I want to evaluate tribunal cases today, and then you go in, and then you get to see what the player said, and you can vote on whether or not they're guilty or not guilty or whatever. And then if it's
anyone can do this.
Yeah, anybody. You can go and do it right now if you wanted to.
This is one of the.
Dude, I am going to do it right after.
This is one of those
great.
things. This is one of those things that's.
Just vote.
This is amazing in concept, but in practice, I think it's a fucking disaster. But I mean, that's just my opinion.
It just depends on how many votes actually get you banned. Because, Steven, for instance, if you told everybody in your stream, vote for this guy, to get banned or whatever.
You can't a specific tribunal. You go there and you're given random cases.
Oh, you are.
I guess if you had 10,000 viewers and you went and camped it, maybe you could find it. But
jeez.
See, everything, I think that especially talking game is so contextualized. When you look at this chat log, So I see what the Nip guy said. So many, okay, so excuse the language, so many fucking niggers in one lobby, right? So I mean, in a vacuum, that sounds really fucking bad, right? But then I scroll up and I see like this guy said LCS player allowed. I see someone else said the cocksucker. Like if obviously what the guy said is probably pretty bad regardless, but if you scroll up and there's like pages and pages of these guys like giving each other shit or everybody shitting on or whatever, and then he says it's like at that point like
Yeah.
it contextually like it's a lot different. I mean it's bad regardless, but it's so much different if there's like a whole bunch of fucking shit talking going on beforehand, you know?
Yeah, that's
Like
true.
and that's one of the biggest critiques that I sometimes like obviously like saying some things is really bad and I mean you shouldn't, but like you have to keep in mind like these people are not the Pope. Like you do not have like canonized saints. Like if you go into a game and you're fucking 19 years old and people are constantly fucking shit talking you and you've grown up on internet culture where the only insults you learn are like faggot, nigger, and all the worst fucking words you could possibly learn are constantly thrown in. Like that's the culture. Like I mean, it's not surprising that you see a lot of people like blow up and things like this. You know, again, not to excuse or to say that it's good or bad, but I mean, like the reality of the situation is pretty fucked in my opinion.
Yeah, when you're in their position, you know, a position of being able to compete and make money playing League of Legends, it's a different standard, right? And we've
Hmm.
seen it with StarCraft 2 too. Just people getting in trouble for what they say in game, just on the
Yeah, for
ladder and
sure.
stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
it's also the this.
It's not even that though, is it? Because they're just being held to the same standard all of us are. I mean, they're not being punished because they're
true.
pros. We don't
That's true.
expect them to act any better or worse than we do when we play. But I don't think they're being held to a bigger standard. I think they're being held to the same standard.
Yeah,
And if
that's true.
most of us can go on and play the game and not get reported, then why can't they? It just doesn't make any
Yeah,
sense to
I
me.
mean, it depends. First of all, and to some extent, it's a higher standard because they have to put up with so much more. Like if this guy like, I'm making so many assumptions here, but like for this guy to walk into a chat room and to be constantly shit on by a bunch of people on the internet who
Yeah, yeah.
suffer no
No,
repercussions, like
I take that.
it's an indescribable how frustrating it is that you can go through game after game after game after game of random fucking idiots just
Yeah.
constantly shit talking you with
No, no,
no
no. Yeah,
repercussion and no hope of it ever happening. And like you,
absolutely.
I mean, so like when I see this guy say things like "get cancer and die, fucking trash Jews," I will gas your families. Like it looks fucking bad, but oh my god, like the frustration of knowing that no matter what you type or what you say, like there's nothing that you can do to ever do anything. Like I said, it's not excusable, but I
No,
mean,
no,
I can
it's not
definitely.
excusable, but I do understand what you're saying. And do you know, even as a non-pro gamer now, for me, I've still had this and I had it in StarCraft actually when I first started playing, and it wasn't nice, I have to say. And I played under my own name. I play under a barcode now, not because I'm any good, but because then people just don't do the same shit to me anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
some people were nice. Some people would say, "Oh, hey, you're the guy that does the hosting, right? Yeah, cool. It's nice to play you." And we would have a good game, and he would win or I would win, and it would all be fine. But for the majority of the time I would play, I would get called like, "Oh my god, can't believe you're paid to work on a StarCraft show. You're terrible. You're fucking
Hmm.
shit. I hope your family dies. I'm going to rape your child." And
Yeah.
I'm just like, I do not deserve to have this abuse
Yeah.
playing a game just because you think you know who I am. That's atrocious behaviour. And I will not lower myself to the same level, but at the same time, it's very difficult sometimes to hold back, even as mature as I'm supposed to be, and not react
Yeah.
to that stuff. How do you ignore that?
And then you
And
see one of the
I play much of my games. I now play anonymously. I mean, and that's shame.
Yeah. And you see also one of the a little bit of the contradictions and well not a contradiction but like the weird scenario of being thrust in the limelight where hundreds of thousands maybe in League of Legends maybe even millions of people have eyes on the things you do but you've never received any like formal public training and you don't have a PR guy managing your account like any normal celebrity, right? Like all the Twitter accounts, all the Facebook accounts, those are all managed by other people. They get lessons on how to give speeches, deal with the public and all that. Like these players don't have that kind of PR training. So it's kind of unfortunate that we're still lagging behind a little bit there.
But I didn't have lessons either, so I mean, and my fame is only a fraction of that. Did you have lessons? I mean,
Are you asking me? No, but I've gotten thrown off teams for calling players gooks before, so I'm not a good person to talk
that's
to.
actually true.
Like, I mean, I have had serious fucking PM problems. I mean, I'm not gonna lie.
I don't
I
know.
mean,
Yeah, I'm sympathetic in the sense that I'm not actually sympathetic at all. I take that back, but they'll bounce back. I don't wish anything. I don't wish more ill towards them, but they'll bounce back. They're 19, uh, and they'll be them and Orb will be a footnote in esports history, and
Oh God.
and we'll just move on, right?
I mean, your experience with Greg. Greg said many things on the ladder.
Yeah, he said a lot of things.
A lot of things that would probably fall into this category too.
Yeah, it gets really difficult. So the
You just don't
The
have a
interesting
tribunal
thing-
in StarCraft 2.
yes, unfortunately, we didn't have a tribunal to figure this thing out for us. The really interesting thing here, though, is that Riot sort of ultimately gets to make the decision for you in this case. You know what I mean? So, like with us, Greg was. A lot of people always gave Alex shit because they were like, well, we think Greg is just, Greg's always going nuts, and we don't think you punish him. Greg was getting in trouble for a lot of that stuff. Now, we didn't feel it was necessary to shit on Greg publicly every time he was punished, but there were like a lot of times fines were levied and stuff like that until eventually it was just the final one. But the interesting thing about League of Legends is if like you're banned from play for a year, Riot made the decision for you. So I think that's sort of where it's interesting. You know what I mean? Because what do you do? I mean, like you keep them, you just pay them for the rest of the year because you can. I mean, that doesn't make a lot of sense as a business. And you need players to play, right? So you got to get new players. I think that's where the difference is. Yeah.
So these guys' playing careers are pretty much over?
One person wants to start coaching, and that's
Good luck.
yeah, that's like a really interesting call to make after getting banned for the rest of the year for your temperament. Is be like, you know what? I really think it's my time to lead a team. I think, I think that's sort of an interesting call to make. But
Does the coach really lead the team though? Like in these roles? I mean,
what is?
I think it depends on team to team.
yeah, I mean, what did they like? What did EG do with their coach?
I was never really involved with League of Legends because my expertise was so limited, so it made no sense to have me involved a ton. It works like a manager in some ways, a statistician in some others. So I suppose the way you speak when you get frustrated with strangers on the internet doesn't matter a ton. I just think that's funny when you consider traditional athletics. It's like, okay, I've been banned from competitive play for a year.
Yeah.
Or being inflammatory. I think it's my time to transition to a role sort of in administrative and management.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think that's kind of funny.
Okay. Any last thoughts before we move on?
I think this is kind of like loosely ties into things. I don't know what it would be really interesting to talk to like I guess like famous people like pre-internet era, but I feel like I feel like being famous or semi-famous or whatever the fuck you would call someone esports now on the internet. I don't think it's something that like a human is like built to endure. It sounds really silly to say this, and coming in like the first 2 years I was here, I always thought like, oh, this will never bother me or whatever, because I really do have. I know a lot of people say it, but I've got the thickest skin of most people that I've ever met. I've never met anybody that's harder to piss off than me. Like I rage at games, but in terms of like honestly like getting upset or whatever about shit on the internet, like that pretty much never affected me for the first few years. But I know like Total Biscuit has said similar things. It's really fucking hard if things are going bad or if something happens when you're under constant attack from threads on Reddit, from things going on Twitter, and then from the people. And then this is like what broke the straw for me in League, when people on your own fucking team in League are giving you shit. Like at some point, like holy fuck, like I don't think that whether it's a cultural thing or biological or what, I don't think like a human being is built to take that much shit from that many different people and still be sane at the end of it all. Like it's really fucked up in my opinion. It's a weird conversation to have. It's really hard to imagine it if you haven't actually been like in the public spotlight, however small this one is compared to other things. But man, I don't know. That's all I got.
That makes me think of this. Have you seen that Ricky Gervais commercial?
Which one?
The Audi one where I think his daughter or whoever he's driving is reading his Twitter or whatever, and she's reading all the troll tweets. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen it. But...
Oh god. Anyways, you should check it out. It's pretty funny. She like starts reading them, and they're all these really like they're totally troll tweets and like offensive and whatever, and he's just like, yeah, I'm doing. Or, what are all these tweets about, Uncle Ricky or whatever? Anyway, check it out. It's an Audi commercial. It's pretty funny, but it made me think of that for some reason. But all right, let's move on. Let's do our Dota 2 segment. And Cody, I know you wanted to talk about it, but let's kind of jump in. Let's kind of lead things off with an update on the international prize pool, since we do that every single week now.
So shit, isn't it?
It's just ridiculous. Every week that we think it's going to slow down, it just keeps going. And at this point, it's almost at $5.5 million, which...
No.
Wait,
It's at
what?
almost
No,
at
sorry,
$8.5
$8.5 million.
$8.5,
It's not $5.5.
yeah.
$8.5 million, and that's just ridiculous. I mean, I was talking to Cody. I'm just like, the conversion on this compendium is
They're really
insane.
good at incentivizing, like right when it starts
mean,
to slow down. Every single time it starts to slow down,
still-
they have something good. So this week they released mortal items, and the more points you have in your compendium gives you access to these items that you'll only be able to get through your TI4 compendium. So it jumped up a shit ton. Everyone trying to get their immortal items. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that it will hit $10 million now, which was crazy.
Yeah, so how many...
I lowballed it. I was like, oh, 7. I was like, it'll hit 5 million. That's gonna.
Yeah,
be
that was like 3 weeks
That'll
ago.
Be so crazy. Yeah, and that was 3 weeks ago, and I feel like a fucking idiot. It'll hit 10 million for sure.
So how
And
many...
do you know what? It's there's a few things in here which are, I think we should just pause and think about some of the things that this now means. So, I did some calculations the other day. It's $9.2 million paid out in 180 Dota 2 tournaments since launch. That includes all of the previous internationals put together and all of the other tournaments that have ever been played at events. 180 events equals $9.2 million. And we are about to see one tournament break that completely on its own. The second fact is this. If they hit 10 million, every single player of the winning team is a millionaire.
I know, that's... I was going to say
one
that.
tournament each.
Exactly.
It's just astonishing. And no player has ever won more than 565,000 in their career so far, and that includes all the Dota players that we've seen winning the international last year and the year before as well. So
Remarkable, insane.
It's just going to break so many records in so many different ways. My only issue with all of this is, and I don't want to be the doom-monger here, but what the hell do we do next year?
I know, exactly, right? So, I want to say, how many Dota users are there right now?
They have a number in game. Let me actually look
Like a total number, because I want to see what the conversion rate on this is, because we're talking what, like 30...
There were 8 million players in the unique players in the last month.
Okay, so if you multiply 8.5, this is 8.5 times 4, right? So we're talking about 34 million. So
wait, what? Where's
so divide by 10, so 3.4. So 3.4.
Wait, walk through this math. Wait,
Yeah.
what? Why would you multiply it by 4?
Well, I mean, isn't the price pool just a quarter of it, right?
No.
So
It's not a pure quarter.
It's not a pure quarter. It's minus 1.6, right?
This is fucking insane. Okay, so a compendium costs $10. Costs $9.99.
Yeah.
$2.50 of that goes to the prize pool.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
almost at 8.5 million right now.
Yeah, so minus the 1.6, which is the original prize pool, right, from Valve.
Yes.
Okay, so let's just say roughly 7 million. Okay, 7 million is a quarter of that 250 you're talking about. So you multiply times 4, that means they've made 28 million in revenue from the compendium. Correct? That's right.
If all the numbers are right, then yeah, I mean.
Right. Okay, so divide by 10. So 2.8 million people have bought the compendium, unless you're talking about multiple.
You can buy points though. You can buy points. Like,
Oh,
for
okay,
example,
you
like,
can
I
buy-
maybe
there is
spent
other
$30.
stuff.
Oh, okay. So that's probably where I was gonna say, if like each
Yeah,
one of them
exactly.
is $10, that's
how they
like
keep,
amazing
that's how they keep
conversion.
going up in
Right.
value.
Okay. Okay.
like,
So they're getting recurring. They're getting repeat. Repeat
you can
buys from
level
some
up your
user.
compendium, which gets you access to more goodies. You
Gotcha.
know? So like the immortal items came out this weekend, and if you weren't a certain level, you couldn't
Right.
get all of these exclusive items, so people would drop. I mean, you can get points by playing games too, but like the most surefire way is just to drop some more money.
Yeah. I mean, my whole point in like pointing all this out is that it's to the point where I think everybody should be really spending serious time like trying to figure out exactly why this is working so well. Like every single person at every single organization should be looking at this, analyzing this, and like really trying to figure out like just the user behavior. What are these incentives that are actually working well?
Yeah,
it's not even just just add something where you can buy like a compendium. No. It's huge, like way beyond that when it's making that amounts of money for your organization.
So not
It's
only will this be
ridiculous,
the
I mean.
biggest esports tournament of all time, and Daily Dot, I think it was Sam Lingle wrote an article, compared it to traditional traditional athletics. So not only will this be one of the biggest esport events of all time, this actually, the total prize pool is more than the PGA Masters, right? So this is one of the biggest sporting events of all time. And it's making Valve a shit ton of money. You know,
more than a game. It's like,
yeah, it's insane.
It's more than
This tournament, they're laughing all the way to the bank. It's absolutely insane. I have no doubt that it'll hit 10 million. I have no idea how much further it will go, because I thought, I was like, you know, I saw it the first day. I was like, oh shit, this will break 5 million. This will be insane. And they've done a really good job. Every time things start to slow down, there's just another thing to incentivize more purchases. It's just absolutely crazy.
and I'm kind of curious as to like how many of these things that they did they have pre-planned versus just like on the fly right now. Let's just like, okay, let's design something really quickly and let's just announce it so that, you know, and make sure that we can finish it on time type of thing. On the, you know, just really, really quick turnarounds there.
It's just sick. Like, and then playing the game too, like the game experience is enriched. Everyone's getting like bonus XP based on like the number of compendiums people have, and that entitles you to certain things in game. And you know, every ranked game I join right now, like everyone has a compendium. It's just absolutely crazy. And I also think that's sort of like a really intelligent, not weird, but an intelligent thing to include. Like when you play a game, you can see who has a compendium. The bonuses you get just for playing with other people with compendiums are very small, but everyone in my friends list, like I can see that you have like your icon is highlighted in purple, so I can see all of my shithead friends who don't have compendiums, which is now like next to none. You know what I mean? There's weird small things like that.
I have one.
Yeah, exactly. You got to have one. You want to be that dude. It's already more money than the entirety of MLG's prize pool in the history of MLG's existence. For the 12 years, it's already surpassed that. It's like,
I mean, we're talking about prize pool, but again, like what's the biggest thing for me is just the revenue made from something like this that's actually in some way it was probably initially meant to be auxiliary. You know, this isn't like a main piece of the game. You know what I mean? This is a main piece of the event, but not the game. So even content wise, I mean, something like after party broadcast, I mean, it has nothing to do with the game. So, but that
no, I mean, I you know, for all of its greatness, and it is great, the chasm that it's now put itself in on its own is a long way ahead of anything else out there. If you look at the very biggest esports payouts for prize money over the last 15 years, the biggest has been the TIs before, obviously, but we've never had anything over 3 million before. And now we've got something that's now got a prize fund that's probably going to go in somewhere in excess of 12.5 million. And so it's massively out there on its own. The next question is, what does everyone else do about it? Can they do anything about it? I mean, Riot have the pool, they have the money if they wanted to do it, but I don't see them going head-to-head like that. And therefore, does that decrease next year's kind of excitement around it? And then the other point is that it also adds weight to what some of the players have been saying recently, and that's the fact that, the International is great, and it's fabulous, and we're really thrilled that Valve do this, but it makes the entire year top-heavy, massively top-heavy now because of the way that the prize money. So so how do we make, I suppose in a bit weird, but like Blizzard have done with WCS. Now, you can argue about whether the system's right and the rules are right. Whatever. One of the great things that they have done is they've given us and given StarCraft players a sustainable income over the whole year because they've got plenty to play for. And if they fall out once, they can get back in very easily if they play well. So there is a decent amount of money in there. I would love it to be more, obviously, but there is a decent amount of money in there. And yet, here we are with $8 million plus to pay out to one event, and I kind of feel like that would be much better spent if it had been done over a longer season.
For me,
I don't know.
For me, it's I see what you're saying, and I totally get the sentiments there. But for me, it being so exaggerated and so this crazy amount, I think it forces everybody to really, really look at this. You know, like not even just kind of think,
no, absolutely.
Oh, we should do this. Yeah, we should just kind of fund our own event. No.
I agree. I agree with that as well. And I think the exposure that we get for esports as an esports fan and a Dota fan is fine. I'm happy that the game gets massive exposure and the esports gets massive exposure, and we reach places we never thought we would be in. and that we're rivaling other sports. I totally get that, and I agree with it. It's fantastic. I'm just not sure from the players' point of view if
Oh,
they
so
would
here's the thing,
they would
Paul,
be
though.
happier. You know,
Here's the thing,
if it
Paul.
had been spread out over the year a bit more. That's all.
There is no
if you
Dota
prove-
player in the world who was like, man, as they creep towards the international, it's like, fuck, man, I wish I was a StarCraft player. I wish I learned to play StarCraft. I don't think that happens, man.
No, but here's the thing with the Dota 2 players is that, you have this compendium, yeah, sure, like for the TI, but you can totally replicate this thing for all the other events too. They can figure out a way to do that if they've already have this proven model. They already have the infrastructure for all this set up already, so easily they could, distribute it throughout the year. And I don't think that's actually a huge concern. I think they could do that if they wanted to. If they wanted to actually get more involved, Valve, they could. So that's easier than having to try to incorporate this from scratch, which we're talking about from some of the other guys who have nothing like this right now.
Valve helped crowdfund DreamHack Winter last year for Counter-Strike Go, and they allow compendiums in Dota, which certainly allows the tournament organizers to help crowdfund their event a little bit. They don't have a support system, and someone may be able to correct me if I'm wrong, but at least at the International last year, they didn't have a dedicated esports team. This is sort of a side project that they found interesting. And I think Valve's philosophy is they build the tools and they kind of just want to let you run with it.
Absolutely.
Which is interesting because I think Blizzard has this crazy esports team, but
this idea was probably, some guy probably had this cool idea that's kind of a side note to that, that first international it was the second one, right, that we had a compendium for? Or
it was the third one.
It was the third one that we had a compendium for. It was probably some guy who just randomly had an idea that was just, that's kind of cool. Let's just try it, and let's just throw it in there. And then they had those few things that they offered up, some of the fantasy stuff too, right? And it just became this huge thing. And you're right, Cody. There's a team of esports guys over at Blizzard, and we have the WCS, which is cool. It's very great structured and everything the way it is, but it's not paying for itself. You know what I mean? That's the biggest thing, right?
Sure. Yep.
Yeah,
I wonder if if it was crowdfunded. I wonder how much more money would go in. I think it's great. The crowdfunding stuff is fantastic. There's no doubt about it. But I also, and this isn't sour grapes in any way, so I don't want you to take it this way, but because this isn't just an ESL thing, it's a general remark. I think during the period of the international, everyone else will suffer in terms of event organisers. So whilst Valve say quite rightly, we just build the tools and you can do what the hell you like with them. I like that approach. It's really refreshing and it's great, and they're very supportive when we talk to Valve as well. The fact is that ESL 1 was doing very, very well, and then the international compendium came out, and suddenly we're not doing as well as we were. We're at 196,000, which is fabulous, and it's terrific, and I hope that we do go over 200,000 because it'd be great for the players that are playing in Frankfurt in a few weeks' time. But it does impact on other tournaments and other events. So whilst they've given us the tools, they've also kind of not penalised us, but they've made it a lot harder for people to pay into those things when the international's such a big thing, and it's not just a few days. It's months of lead up and build up and what have you. So it's not all good.
Yeah,
I think ESL 1 will definitely. I've seen a commercial, and it seems like 200,000 is the magic mark, and I actually think it'll do that, especially if the event nears, because that'll ESL 1 will be the preamble for the international,
it will.
For sure.
Yeah.
That will be everyone's eyes will be on that, and they'll see where all the teams want to play. So I think, the compendiums aren't. For third-party tournaments, anyway, the compendium should not be a critical part of the business model.
No, absolutely not, and I can honestly say they're not for us. So it's it's not, that's not the issue. It's more I'm more disappointed for the players because I thought maybe we would have got a bit more, but on the projection that we had originally, I think we would have gone way past 250 on what was happening. But as soon as the international got announced, it literally just it bottomed out, and I understand that there's nothing that Valve did on purpose or anything like that. There's no blame attached to it. It's just a point that I'm making is that whilst we have one massively successful thing, it can also hurt other things that are going on at the same time. It's not just us. There's other compendiums that you can buy for other tournaments and events. So and they've all gone down.
Yeah, I think on my first show here I got a little bit of flack, but I think after TI4 there's certainly gonna be. I'm still holding on, guys. I think there's going to be a little bit of viewer fatigue, especially on the very far end. I think ESL, DreamHack, and the big boys, the guys who have always been the big boys, will be fine. But things like D2CL, D2L,
Yeah, sure.
After a $10 million tournament,
Yeah.
When you're a $50,000 tournament, I think, and rosters are shuffling. And
I was going to say rosters are the next thing, aren't they?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
if we saw last year.
I think, so it's. I think August to October will be the cigarette after the sex that is the international. And I think everyone's just gonna be, because like you had 2 weeks straight of TI qualifiers, and we're creeping into the summit. We got ESL 1 and then the international. I think everyone's just gonna, and team leagues are just historically always so fucking intense. I made a huge mistake and looked at the chat now. I'm all off kilter.
Don't look at chat. Jesus, man.
But anyway, that's
That's
international's
what I tell you
fucking
that.
awesome. Let's move on to Navi picking up a new squad. Navi's got a North American squad now.
Oh yeah.
Which is fucking sick. Got to break this news. I knew me and Rod were racing for it.
All right.
Which is really good. So yeah, Navi picked up NAR. They're the winners of the North American TI qualifiers, and they're a really great squad. And I haven't been able to get numbers, but someone publicly tweeted earlier. I forget who it was. A team in the running tweeted what they were going to give them, and Navi outbid them. And I'd also heard another, through some like back alley sort of things. Yeah, I think this is really sick for both Navi and the 5 players. I think the deal is really good. I think I don't know why necessarily Navi wants 2 teams. I think it's really good for their brands. Navi hasn't been performing like they have, so the traditional Navi lineup. But yeah, I think that's absolutely fantastic. I really respect the Navi organization. They've obviously done a lot for Dota. If this happens to be one of those deals where, like, if you get a percentage of the prize money, man, you should just want as many Dota teams as possible, right?
Yeah.
Like, so, I mean, my hat's off to...
15 Dota teams
Flipside.
announced for SK Gaming.
Yeah, it was Flipside, actually,
Lottery,
so
baby.
thank you for Z Frenchies 1, who I think chimed in with something last week when I had forgotten. Like, yeah, they offered, like, I don't think it was like, it was 15K split in a way that I can't remember, and then, like, their travel to a boot camp, which is really, really important. In team games, boot camps are extremely, extremely important. So good for them. I think that's sick. And then I was going to mention, let me pop over the notes, Fear. So he was one of the 3 players that were highlighted in Valve's documentary Free to Play. Will be sitting out TI4, which is actually really sad because he's one of the, I guess, the pioneers of Dota, especially here in North America. And he's a really good guy, and he didn't get to participate in TI last year just because the Evil Geniuses lineup was having roster issues and they fell short in the qualifiers. This year, the team looks really great, and we're talking contenders for a pretty high placing in this tournament. That'll be the biggest tournament of all time. And then, an injury plaguing his elbow sort of has him on the sideline, so he'll be replaced, which actually sucks because he's the man, and he was playing Dota when making money. Playing Dota was just like something that was unimaginable.
It was uncool.
Now, yeah. Well, it wasn't uncool, but it was unimaginable. And now in the biggest esports tournament of all time, he'll have to watch a player play in his stead, which is just really unfortunate. So everyone should just give @FearDota a shout out on Twitter, because that can't be fucking awesome.
Yeah, Fear is... Yeah, it's one of the... one of the most popular NA players, at least. I mean, at least for a long time now, I think everybody knows Fear. Everybody saw Fear's story, some of it at least in the documentary too.
Yeah. So we have people asking again in chat. He's had an elbow injury. It's the video game equivalent of tennis elbow, right?
Yeah. It's nerve related, isn't it?
Yeah. So he's had Mason stand in for him for the last month. Everyone was hoping that it would get better, and it hasn't. So he'll be replaced this weekend at the summit, and then he'll also be replaced at TI4 by Mason, who's also been performing really good. Which is, at least they've had a little bit of prep for it, but it's definitely really sad because he's sort of one of these legendary Dota players and a person who's often called a pioneer for the sport. In a tournament this big is just a bummer. So that's Dota.
How does the prize how is it split on a lot of these teams when you're talking about teams that consist of obviously starters and practice squads and stuff like that?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I don't think anyone except for people in the Evil Geniuses camp know right now, and they haven't told me.
Yeah.
I have to imagine Fear's got to get some sort of cut. Fucking, my neighbors are insane. Yeah, but he was pretty critical to putting that lineup together. I imagine he has to get some sort of cut. And I hope he gets some sort of cut. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like, I absolutely don't know. I think the people performing the day of probably deserve the majority of the money, but I can't imagine, Fear on the street trying to feed himself.
Yeah, that would be sad if that was
after
the case.
TI.
Yeah. Okay. Any other Dota 2 news?
That's it. Watch the summit this week. Pull up multi-Twitch so you can watch it with Home Story Cup. I mean, these tournaments have often been compared with one another. This is Beyond the Summit's freshman attempt at a at a tournament like this, so I think it'll be really interesting to watch. And it's really cool, as the TI prize pool grows bigger and bigger and bigger. It's cool to have this this sort of casual tournament to sort of remind you, like, these are all. At the end of the day, friends are going to have a couple beers with one another, play with one another. It should be sick. So that's Dota. I know people have wanted more Dota. We've gotten more flack recently for Dota, so I hope I did a decent job sailing the Dota seas today.
No, you did. You did a good job, Cody. Thanks, man.
Thank you, buddy.
All right, let's get into some sub call-ins. I think I have one here. Where is he?
Are we doing questions from
We're gonna do questions.
Separate Editor?
We are.
I noticed that not to skip it over. This is really interesting. Desro made a comment.
Yeah, with the minigun thing.
Yeah, and said
Yeah.
that Twitch wouldn't let them remove the pre-rolls from their channel.
Yeah, we can. Okay, we can start with that.
Well, we can do comments first. That was like really weird to me.
You
That
just
was
brought
really
it up. We
interesting.
might as well talk about
Yeah,
it.
you're
So Desro asks in the Reddit thread, me and Minigun requested Twitch to remove the pre-roll on our streams, but we were denied by Twitch staff an hour ago. Could Destiny and the panel talk about why Twitch would deny us when in the end they're not making any money off users with ad block anyway?
This is a weird fucking question.
Yeah. I mean,
Because they're making money off the people
Yeah,
that don't use.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well,
yeah.
I think you ultimately lose. I think pre-rolls are the worst idea of anything ever. It's the number one.
Come on, they are. But on the other hand, how the hell do they make any money? I mean, it's the easiest way.
by
they can make
advertisement
money,
shown
right?
on stream. By advertisement shown
No,
on
no,
stream.
no. But the pre-rolls are the easiest fucking way of making money.
It is.
The
It's kinda-
easiest way, because
It's also
most
the
people
easiest
go
way
to
to turn
Twitch, and if
somebody
they're
into
not
ad
logged
block,
in,
though.
if they're not logged in to start with, it will run an ad anyway. So then you have to log in, and then if you're not a turbo user, it will run another ad.
I mean, like, I would believe you, but I think I don't know if you don't have ad block. It's very, 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 very easy to get ad block. And when you want to go from channel to channel and you click and like, oh, another pre-roll, I can't fucking watch anything. Oh, another pre-roll, I can't even see this.
I know.
I feel
you
like
know.
pre-roll is the number one driver to people being sent off to ad block. I think it's the worst thing ever. I think it should be completely eliminated. Anybody that has any genuine desire to get rid of people ad blocking, I think should be adamantly against the pre-roll. I think it's the worst thing ever.
Do you think
My-
it would make a massive difference?
At this point, probably not because ad block is so easily accessible. But
No,
if,
I meant if you take the pre-roll away, and they find some way of disabling ad block or whatever, do you honestly think that
Getting
streamers
rid of
would earn
it,
more money
I think
and
it's
that Twitch
huge
would
difference.
still make a profit or at least break even?
I think if it was global, though, if it was everybody and not just like a single channel or something.
I mean, to know that,
Maybe.
you'd have to know, like, what is the average amount of viewers on... I mean, if you could get rid of ad block completely and you want to do pre-rolls still, I mean, that's one thing, sure. But I mean, like, I'm just saying that, like, pre-rolls in and of themselves, I think, are, like, a really big thing that drives people to using ad block. Like,
Yeah, most people say that. It's
Sure.
I think that's common knowledge. Yeah.
I mean,
I
there's
thought I had it disabled on my channel, but are you not able
there's
to...
a company in the UK right now who've figured out how to disable ad block and still run pre-rolls. And I'm pretty sure that it's not going to be long before that technology is also on Twitch and probably YouTube and pretty much everywhere else as well. And I'm sure that people at AdBlock are very smart as well, and they'll come back with a counter and that'll fix it for a little bit. But it's going to be an ongoing fight.
Yeah, sure.
I just think that your thought about pre-rolls is very interesting, in that I think there should be some experiments done to work out whether
Yeah,
it
so
does
just-
or does not help.
Like,